The ATM closes. My in-laws treated me like an open wallet. Then my wife filed for divorce. You were never family, just a walking ATM, they sneered. Even the kids won't miss you. They clinked champagne glasses, bought with my money. I just smirked, raising my own. 7 days later, my phone blew up with 23 missed calls as their world crumbled. I never thought I'd be writing something like this, but here I am at 2 a.m., in my car, outside what used to be my home, trying to process everything. It all started with an Amazon email, a returned package I never ordered. That's how I found out my wife, Penny, had a secret credit card. My whole world started to unravel. Let me rewind a bit. I'm Dustin, 34, married to Penny, 32, for 8 years. We met when I was launching my small construction business, living in a cramped apartment, driving a beat-up Toyota. Penny was sweet, supportive, and seemed to love our simple life. Her family, though, that's where it got messy. Her parents, Camille and Everett, seemed okay at first. They lived in a modest house. Everett worked at the hardware store, and Camille was between jobs, always between jobs. Her brother, Danny, 35, lived in their basement, supposedly working on a startup. Her sister, Heidi, waited tables part-time while chasing her acting dream. Not exactly the Brady Bunch, but hey, family's family, right? The problem started small. Camille would mention a broken washing machine, and Penny would give me those puppy dog eyes. Baby, they can't afford a new one right now. Next thing I knew, I was buying them a washer and dryer because they're family. Then it was helping with their mortgage, just this once when Everett had knee surgery. Once turned into every month for 2 years. Danny needed a small loan for his startup, $15,000 I'll never see again. Heidi's car broke down, so naturally I had to help finance a new one. She needs it for auditions, Penny insisted. Every time I tried to talk about our budget, Penny would tear up. They're my family, Dustin. We can't just let them struggle when we're doing okay. But that Amazon alert led me to discover Penny had opened 3 secret credit cards. She'd been taking cash advances to help her family, racking up almost $40,000 in debt. I found this by checking our credit report, something I should have done months ago. The real kicker? She'd been telling her family I was controlling for wanting to know where our money went. Last week, I finally put my foot down. I gathered everyone at their house and laid out spreadsheets showing exactly how much they'd taken over the years, nearly $200,000. Danny smirked. Heidi rolled her eyes. Camille started crying about how I was attacking them. Everett just stared at his hands. Penny exploded, calling me selfish, saying I was trying to turn her against her family. That's when Camille dropped the bomb. We never liked you anyway. You were just convenient. Someone to keep us comfortable. They all laughed, even Penny. 2 days later, I was served divorce papers. The claims, emotional abuse and financial control. They're trying to paint me as a monster who manipulated and isolated Penny from her loving family. Yesterday, they invited me to a family meeting to discuss things civilly. I walked into their house to find them celebrating with champagne. Champagne I probably paid for. Opal, Camille's friend from the bank, was there too. They were all laughing, toasting to freedom from the control freak. Camille looked me dead in the eyes and said, "You were never family, just a walking ATM. Even the kids won't miss you." We don't have kids yet, thank God, but they'd been pressuring us about it lately. Now I know why. I didn't get angry or yell. I just smiled, raised the glass they'd given me, and said, "Thanks for showing me exactly who you all are." Then I called. My friend Elliot, a lawyer. The look on their faces when I mentioned his name? Priceless. They don't know it yet, but I've spent the last week documenting everything, every loan, every transfer, every guilt trip, every manipulation. I have 8 years of receipts, text messages, and bank statements. They think they've won, that they'll get half my business and keep bleeding me dry through alimony. They have no idea what's coming. Edit 1. Some of you said I should check for more credit cards and accounts. Already on it. The rabbit hole goes deeper than I thought. Edit 2. To those calling me stupid for not seeing this sooner. Yeah, maybe. Love makes you blind, but I'm wide awake now. Update 1. The paper trail first. Thank you for all the support on my last post. It really helped me keep my head straight. A lot has happened, and I need to get this off my chest. I've moved out of our house into a small apartment across town. It's nothing fancy, just a one-bedroom with basic furniture from Target, but it's mine, and nobody's trying to guilt me into buying them anything here. The first night was rough. I sat on my new couch, scrolling through old photos, wondering how I missed so many red flags. But then something clicked. I remembered Penny asking me to add her as an authorized user on my main credit card, just in case of emergencies, 3 years ago. I pulled up my online banking and started digging through statements. What I found made my blood boil. Every time Camille, my mother-in-law, had some crisis that needed my help. Car repairs, dental work, new appliances. Penny had actually been charging equal or larger amounts at stores like Nordstrom and Sephora. They weren't emergencies. They were shopping sprees disguised as family crises. I texted Elliot, my lawyer friend, asking if he could meet for coffee the next morning at Starbucks. I laid out everything, the credit card statements, the family emergencies, the way they'd celebrated with my money right after serving me divorce papers. Elliot didn't say much at first, just kept taking notes on his phone. "Your in-laws really screwed up," he finally said. "They thought they were being clever, but they left a paper trail a mile wide. Here's what we pieced together. Danny hasn't paid rent in their basement for 2 years because I've been unknowingly covering it through loans to my in-laws. Heidi's car that broke down 3 times? She actually traded it in each time for newer models, using my credit card for down payments. The medical bills for Everett's back problems? Most of those charges were actually at Best Buy and GameStop. Camille's friend Opal, who works at the local bank, had been helping them time their requests for money around my paycheck deposits. The real kicker came yesterday. I was cleaning out our shared home office, supervised by Penny's cousin, since I'm not supposed to be there when she's home, and I found a notebook in Camille's handwriting. It was a literal playbook of manipulation tactics. Emergency calls work best on Sundays when he's relaxed. Mention the grandkid's future if he hesitates about money. Let Penny ask. He never says no to her. Family dinner, new request opportunity. I took photos of every page, but here's what they don't know. Their mortgage, that I've been helping with, it's 3 months behind because I stopped payments when I found out about the divorce. Danny's truck, that's in my name. I'm reporting it as unauthorized use next week. All those loans they never paid back? I have signed IOUs for most of them. The joint account Penny drained? She missed the business account. She's not on it. Penny filed for divorce claiming I was financially controlling. The irony would be hilarious, if it wasn't so infuriating. Her lawyer sent over their initial demands yesterday. They want half my business, the house, and ongoing support for her and her parents, since they're dependent on our family income. I showed the demands to Elliot. He actually laughed. They really think you're just going to roll over, he said, shaking his head. They have no idea what's coming. I'm not angry anymore. I'm not even hurt. I'm just done being everyone's ATM. Elliot's drawing up paperwork now. The in-laws think the gravy train is just changing tracks. They don't realize it's about to derail completely. The funny thing is, I got a text from Opal yesterday. Maybe we can work something out if you're reasonable about the divorce settlement. I didn't reply. Let them think I'm defeated. Let them celebrate a little longer. They taught me an expensive lesson about family. Now I'm about to teach them one about consequences. I'll update when everything's in motion. Right now, I need to focus on documenting everything and letting Elliot do his job. The next family dinner they have might not be quite as cheerful as the last one. Edit 1. A lot of people are asking if I'm worried about retaliation. I'm not. They've spent years pretending to be victims while bleeding me dry. All I'm doing is stopping the bleeding and letting natural consequences happen. Everything I'm doing is completely legal. I'm just not going to be their safety net anymore. Edit 2. To clarify, yes, I have copies of all documents in multiple secure locations. And no, I won't be responding to any of their calls or messages except through my lawyer. Update 2. Karmas. A bitch, it's been 3 weeks since my last update, and holy cow, have things changed. I've been getting tons of DMs asking for updates, so here we go. Remember how I mentioned working with my friend Elliot to document everything? Well, that groundwork paid off big time. The day after the divorce papers were served, I had my bank freeze all joint accounts and credit cards. Penny called me screaming about how she couldn't buy groceries. I calmly reminded her she has her own teacher salary and suggested she ask her parents for help, since they're so family-oriented. Then came the big move. I called in all the personal loans I'd given to my in-laws over the years. Everything was documented with signed IOUs. Thank God for Elliot's advice years ago. The total came to $46,800. I gave them 30 days to pay it back, as per the agreements they'd signed. Everett, my father-in-law, showed up at my apartment red-faced and screaming about how I was trying to destroy his family. I recorded the whole thing on my phone. Again, thanks, Elliot. He kept yelling about how I was never really family and how I was just jealous of their close bond. I just smiled and said, "You're right. I was never family, I was just an ATM, and ATMs need to be paid back." The real kicker, I stopped paying their mortgages. Yeah, turns out I'd been covering both their house payment and Danny's apartment. Danny, my unemployed brother-in-law, had been telling everyone he was between opportunities, while spending his days playing video games and door-dashing their groceries with my credit card. Camille, my mother-in-law, tried to play the guilt card. She showed up at my work crying about how they'd lose their house, how Danny would be homeless. How could I do this to them? I played the voicemail she'd left me after the divorce papers were served. The one where she bragged about how they planned this for months, how Penny would get half my savings, and how I was too stupid to see it coming. Her face went white. The community drama has been insane. Opal, Camille's best friend from the local bank, had been spreading rumors that I'm abusive and controlling. So I forwarded her the screenshots of all the unauthorized charges Camille had made to my cards over the years. Funny how quickly the narrative changed when people saw proof of who was really controlling whom. Penny finally cracked last week. She showed up at my apartment at 2 a.m., crying about how her parents had manipulated her, how they'd convinced her. I was holding her back from some imaginary better life, how they'd pressured her to file for divorce, because he'll give you anything to keep you. She begged me to take her back, said we could start fresh. I just laughed and showed her my phone, specifically the group chat screenshots her sister Heidi had sent me. Turns out Heidi had grown a conscience after seeing how her family treated me. The screenshots showed them all planning how to take me for everything during the divorce, including Penny's messages about playing the victim. The fallout has been exactly what you'd expect. The bank started foreclosure proceedings on their house last week. Danny's been frantically applying for jobs because his apartment complex gave him notice. Turns out you actually need to pay rent. Who knew? Everett's truck got repossessed because I stopped making payments on that too. Camille's been calling mutual friends, crying about how cruel I am, but nobody's buying it anymore. Penny's latest trick. She tried to claim I was financially abusive by controlling all the accounts. Her lawyer dropped that real quick when Elliot showed up with 5 years of bank statements showing her shopping sprees and regular transfers to her parents, plus those beautiful screenshots of them planning everything. The best part? I didn't have to do anything illegal or complicated. I just stopped being their personal bank and let the natural consequences happen. They built their whole lifestyle on my money, and now they're learning what happens when the ATM closes. Karma has been beautiful to watch. Their house is being sold. Danny's actually working at a fast food place. Heidi apologized and is trying to distance herself from the whole mess. And Penny? She's living with her parents, watching their whole house of cards collapse. I'm not going to lie. There are moments when I remember the good times and feel a twinge of something. But then I remember that champagne toast, their laughing faces, as they celebrated taking advantage of me, and that twinge turns to satisfaction. My apartment might be smaller than our old house, but I sleep just fine knowing I finally stood up for myself, and my bank account is looking pretty healthy now that I'm not supporting 6 extra adults. Edit 1. Holy, this blew up. Thanks for all the support, everyone. To answer some common questions. 1. The divorce is progressing and looking good for me. 2. Danny did actually get a job. He's working drive-through and apparently hates it. 3. Their house goes up for auction next month. We'll update when there's more to share. Update 3. The freight train. Hits previous posts linked but got removed by mods. Quick recap. Wife and in-laws treated me like a walking ATM for years. Wife filed for divorce, saying I was emotionally abusive, for questioning their spending. They celebrated with champagne I paid for. I stopped enabling them financially. It's been 3 months since my last update, and holy what a ride. Remember how I said karma would come for them? Well, it did, and it hit like a freight train. First off, thanks for all the support. Your comments helped me stay focused when things got rough. Now let me tell you how it all played out. Remember, my father-in-law Everett's smug face when he toasted to finally getting rid of the controlling bastard? Well, he's not smirking anymore. The hardware store he worked at for 23 years laid him off last month. Turns out drinking on lunch breaks eventually catches up with you. He probably could have found another job, but his pride wouldn't let him work beneath his station. Their house went into foreclosure last week. My buddy Elliot, who's been my rock through this, helped me document every penny they'd squeezed out of me over the years. When I stopped paying their bills, reality hit them like a sledgehammer. Camille, my mother-in-law, tried guilt-tripping me through mutual friends. How could you let your family end up on the street? I blocked every number they called from. The real show started when Danny, my unemployed brother-in-law, realized he had to move out of their basement. He'd been living there rent-free for 6 years, playing video games and working on his mixtape. He showed up at my apartment screaming about how I was destroying the family. I just smiled, took a video of his meltdown, always document crazy, and called the cops. They escorted him away while he was still ranting about his upcoming record deal. Then came the community fallout. Remember Opal, my mother-in-law's gossip buddy who works at the local bank? She'd been spreading rumors about how I was financially abusing the family. Well, karma got her too. During one of her rants at the grocery store about what a monster I was, she let slip about all the loans and credit cards my wife had taken, out in my name. A mutual friend recorded it all and sent it to me. That recording became pretty useful in the divorce proceedings. The biggest surprise? My soon-to-be ex-wife Penny's reaction when reality finally hit. She came to my workplace. 2 weeks ago, mascara running, begging me to fix everything. Said she realized what her family had done and that she chose the wrong side. I just looked at her and said, "Remember that champagne toast? How's it taste now?" Her response? She started screaming in the parking lot about how I was heartless and destroying her family. I just kept recording on my phone while she had her meltdown. More documentation for the divorce. Last weekend was the cherry on top. They had to sell most of their stuff in a yard sale. Watching Camille trying to sell the designer bags and jewelry I'd bought Penny over the years, which she'd borrowed and never returned, was darkly satisfying. Even better, their neighbors now know the whole story. Nothing like a small-town yard sale to air all the dirty laundry. Heidi, my sister-in-law, tried playing both sides, calling me crying about how they were making her pay rent for the first time in her life, while simultaneously trash-talking me on Facebook. I just kept screenshots of everything. At this point, my divorce folder in Google Drive is better organized than their lives. The family's basically imploding now. Danny's couch surfing and actually had to get a job at a fast food place. Everett's drinking more than ever. Camille's telling everyone who will listen that I'm the devil himself. Penny's realizing that her teacher salary won't cover the lifestyle she's used to. And Heidi, she's suddenly very interested in reconciling with her rich ex-boyfriend. As for me, I'm doing better than ever. The weight of supporting 6 ungrateful adults is off my shoulders. My business is thriving now that I'm not hemorrhaging money to support their lifestyle. I bought myself a PlayStation 5 with the money I used to spend on their car payments. First time I've bought something just for me in years. The divorce should be finalized next month, thanks to all the documentation and Elliot's help. It's going in my favor. Penny's attempts to claim half my business failed spectacularly. Turns out judges don't look kindly on documented financial abuse. Life's not perfect. Some mutual friends took their side, but good riddance. The real ones stuck around, and I've never been more clear about who I can trust. To everyone dealing with similar situations, stand your ground. Don't let toxic family members guilt you into setting yourself on fire to keep them warm. Sometimes, the kindest thing you can do for yourself is to let people face the consequences of their own actions. Edit 1. Thanks for all the awards. To those asking, yes, I've got cameras installed at my place, not taking any chances. Edit 2. Some asked what happened to the joint accounts. There weren't any by the end. I separated everything months ago when I first suspected something was wrong. Always trust your gut, folks.